Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Lila Nishmat mi Mirosi Rusvas Mordechai. Zok Teil Mishnah. Chatos shekibel dama b'kois echad. So we're going to see two cases here in the Mishnah. One case is that you do kabbalas adam. First, the kohen does shchita. The next step is Kabbalah. After that goes halacha, then zrika. Two cases. One case is where he receives the blood in one cup, one klishars. That's normal. Another case is where he received it in two cups. We're going to see a big nafkamina. And we're continuing the theme of doing the avodah outside of the Beis Hamikdash, which many times it brings a iser kares. Receive the blood in one cup. Nosam b'chutz. You sprinkle this blood outside of the Beis Hamikdash. So what should happen right now if we stop right here? Yechayev. V'chazer v'nosam b'fnim. And you went inside and you did it again. Or b'fnim v'chazar v'nosam b'chutz. Chayav. Yechayev kares shekuloi roi b'fnim, because it all could have been sprinkled inside. So let's look at the second case for a second. B'fnim. You did the zrika inside the Beis Hamikdash, so everything's good, everything's kosher, it's gewaldig. Then you went ahead and you sprinkled from the same cup. You went and you did a zrika outside of the Beis Hamikdash, chayav. Question: why are you chayav? You already did the sprinkling inside, everything's good. It's over. Oh, it's the shirayim, and the shirayim is ma'akiv. Very good. I don't hold it. Like Reb Nechemia holds that the shirayim is an essential part of this whole music thing. I wish they could maybe lower the volume. I'd rather just take the volume off completely. Here, we go 1, 2, 3 without volume. Oh, so much better. Okay, so that, the shirayim, pouring the leftover into the drain, is part of the avodah. It's not, I don't know what to do with it, let me pour it in the drain. No, it's pouring the drain. You have kavana, it's an avodah, and since it's an avodah, and you do that avodah outside the Beis Hamikdash, you're chayav. New case. Kibel dama b'shtei kaises. I don't know what happened over there. There's a lot of blood. He got confused. He takes 2 cups. He chaps blood with 2 cups. Nosan shnei b'fnim, potter. Now, Rashi says in a few of these cases over here, there's no chiddush whatsoever. It's just for the symmetry of the Mishnah. So it's saying he poured both of the bloods inside the Beis Hamikdash. Of course, potter. There's no chiddush over there that you potter. Here's the chiddush: shneim b'chutz chayav. If you pour from both of the cups outside of the Beis Hamikdash, you're chayav. You might even be chayav twice, 2 chatois, if you had a helam in the middle. If you forgot what you're doing is usher, then you became aware of it, then you did it again. Echad b'fnim, echad b'chutz, potter. This we need to understand, Rabbi. This is confusing. You take from cup A and you do zrika inside the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, you're yaisa. Now, what happens to the leftover, Rabbi? What's the leftover? What is that called? Shirayim and ma'akiv. And then ve'echad b'chutz, and then you take from the second cup and you pour it outside, potter. All of a sudden, now we say potter. A second ago we said that if you take from the shirayim and you do outside, you pour outside, you chayiv. How come right now you potter? So we have to. It's a chiddush, and that's what we're going to call dochli. It's been pushed off. It's a different kli, so it's as if there's never a zrika, like you're saying. There's no zrika from the second kli, and then mela, you're not chayiv from that. That's different. Very good. Echad b'chutz, echad b'fnim. If he poured from one outside, let's stop right over. He poured from the outside. Is that zrika or not zrika? At this point, yes, it's zrika. Why? Because he didn't do zrika yet. Not poured. He sprinkled. He did zrika with cup A outside before he did it with cup B inside. So you're chayev. Ve'el b'fnim. Chayev ala chitzoin. Now you're chayev because you didn't do any zrika at all. So either one of the cups is roi for a zrika. If it didn't become dachu yet, Memela you're chayiv on the zrika that you did outside. Then when you went ahead and you did the zrika inside, b'apnimi mechaper, you get a good kapara from the blood from the second cup on the aveira that you did originally. The only problem is that you bought yourself a new Avera called Kares. Says the Mishnah, I have a mashal for you. L'mafrish chatosoi v'avda. This is a mashal to somebody who set aside a chatos. V'avda, and it got lost. So, l'mafrish chatosoi v'avda, v'hivrish acheres achtel. If a person has to bring a chatos, and you set aside a chatos, and the chatos ran away, got lost, v'hivrish acheres achtel. And then you designate a second one. Designate a second chatos to fill in the loss. You have to bring a chatos. The person did an avera, whatever it is, b'shoigeg, he has to bring a chatos. He brings carbon A, sits at the side, says, you're a chatos. And A runs away, doesn't want to be a chatos, runs away. So now he has to bring a chatos. What does he do? He's allowed to bring another one. And the second one, B, becomes a full-fledged chatos. No, Rabbi say, what happens? I'm sure this is what happens every single time. If you chai the chatos and it runs away, and then you bring another chatos, what happens the minute after you? The first one always comes home right after you designate. It's always right. Hush it like that. Oh. And then you find the first one. So here's the list. It's kedai to remember this list of a timna. There are 5 chatois. There's a kosov. These 5 must die. Vlad chatos, the offspring of a chatos, must die. Die means literally you put it in a room and that's it. You don't give it any food. Tmura is chatos. You do a tmura. Chatos shemesu baleh, and finally the 4th one in gold. Chatos sheneskaper baleh. So that's what we're talking about now. If there's a chatos that the owner already had a forgiveness from a different chatos.
No, but this is alive.
So that's the machlokes. We'll see in a second. It's alive, and according to Rebbe, even though it's alive, it's still considered chatos sheneskaper baleh. Now, you as the owner, you have A and B, and they're both standing in front of you. You could choose B to be your chatos. You like it more. It's larger. It's better. And A is going to be set off to die, or you could choose A, and B is going to die. Now you were over. You're supposed to shecht one, and the second one, according to Tzman Omar, goes to die, or whatever you want to do with it. But the point is, you're only supposed to shecht one. What happens when you shecht one? You shecht one, you shecht A. What happens to B? What happens to B? What's its status? Either it needs to die, but the bottom line is it's not a chatas anymore. It leaves the chatas category, becomes like chulin. And you just shechted a chulin inside the Beis HaMikdash, which is also. So your potter, shtein bachot chayav. If you shechted both of them outside your chayav, if there was 2 halamas, in other words, there was an awareness in between. Achaz b'fnim v'achaz bachot. What if you shechted one inside the Beis HaMikdash and one outside the Beis HaMikdash? Potter. Because once you did the one inside, then the one outside is nothing. Achaz b'chutz v'achaz b'fnim. Now I think over here is where Rashi says that he shechted both of them together. That's why you chayav on the outside. But if you shecht one inside the Beis HaMikdash, and so you shechted B, let's say, you shechted B, so now A is not a chatas anymore. So if you shecht the B or A outside, you potter. Achaz b'chutz. But if you shechted B first, b'chutz, so now you're chayiv because you shechted a chatas outside of the Beis HaMikdash. V'achaz b'fnim, and then you went ahead and you shechted the other one. Chayiv al chitzoyin, you chayiv kares for shechting that one outside first. V'apnimis, and the inner one, mechaperes, it has the ability to give you a kapara. Shame, shadama poiter is b'sara. We know that the zrika of any carbon allows you to eat the meat. If it's meat like a chatos, the kohen can eat the meat only after the zrika. Kachi poiteres is b'sar chaverta. If both of these were shechted simultaneously, like 2 kohanim shechted them together, so there's no mi'ila on the second one. One has the ability to say that the second one is not a carbon, not kachim, and there's no mi'ila. Zok the Gemara on top of Kufyud Beis Amadal. So basically, we already explained all of this. Bishlam Bachot. If you did Zrika outside of the Beis Hamikdash, v'chaz v'nosam b'fnim, and then you repeated, and you did Zrika inside the Beis Hamikdash, shekulei roi liyos b'fnim. The blood that you did outside was roi to be blood, to be Zrika. We need a Zrika now. Al b'fnim, that I understand. Al b'fnim v'helam b'chot. But if you did the Zrika inside, and afterwards you did another Zrika outside, shirayim ninu. What's the problem? How can you be chayv kares on leftovers? Says Gemara, Amani Reb Nechemia Yidomar Shiur Adam Shekirim B'chutz Chayav. It goes according to Reb Nechemia, who says that even the leftovers is part of the avodah, and if you makriv and you pour it outside of the Beis Hamikdash, you chayav kares. As the Gemara, Reb Nechemia, Emes Seifa. This is chazarah. They pointed it out in the Mishnah. Then the Mishnah talks about a second case where he accepted the blood, he received the blood with 2 cups. Nothing's named B'fnim Potter. So if he did Zrikas Hadam with both cups inside the Beis Hamikdash, there's nothing wrong with that potter. No chiddush. If you did Zrika from both of the cups outside, you're chayiv. Good. That I understand. Everything is good. But this is the problem. Echad b'fnim, once you did Zrika inside the Beis Hamikdash and you were yoytze Zrika, v'echad b'chot, and now whatever is left over is called shirayim, potter. Why you potter v'omer Reb Nechemia Shiur Adam Shekirim B'chutz chayav this shirayim, and you chayav at least 4 or 5 people screamed out Shekirim B'chutz chayav Shiur Adam. So they said no, it's not shirayim because it's another kli. Very good. Says Gemara, Seva Son Tanakam de Reb Elazar Reb Shimon Doma Koyis Oisa Dochel Lechaveroi. Since it's in a separate cup, it's pushed off. That's it. It's separate. It's separate. So you're not over on Zrika outside of the Beis Hamikdash. It's a different cup. You already did the Zrika from the first cup. Cup B has no connection to this carbon. There's a Gemara. We said in the Mishnah, Lamad David Oima. Person who set aside a chatos and it got lost, and then he set aside a second one, and then the original one came back. Lamad David Oima Lamali. What do I need this for? Homani Rebbe, to teach us the chiddush. That goes according to Rebbe. Zoma. Avuda b'shas afrosha meisa. So now, this is what Ari was screaming right back then. That what? That this fourth thing, chatash and skaber ba'olel, is if you already shecht B, A ran away. So you go ahead to the store, you buy another carbon B, and you designate it as a carbon, and then you shecht it, and then after you shecht it, 2 days later, A shows up at your door. Now what? Okay, so it's chatash and skaber b'olel. But over here it's different. Over here you have both of them in front of you. But even if b'shas hafrosha, in other words, they're here alive, and I want to tell you, he says, okay, but that's only because one got lost and I replaced it. Yes, they're both alive at the same time. There's still the halacha of chadash and skaber b'olel. When don't I have this halacha? But if he set aside to begin with, it's not one got lost and he came up with another one. So from day one he said, I want one of these two to be my chata. One of them is going to be an oila. You hear this? It's a shtickle problem. A little bit of a problem. Why? What's an oila? A male or a female? Male. What's a chatos? Male or female? Shtickle problem. You have an Asham that we have to send him off to Kevis land. So basically, if you have an Asham that has one of these problems, let's say Chatash and Skaper B'olel, but it's an Asham, so this idea of putting the Chatas to die is by a Chatas. You don't do it by Asham. So what do? Kevis land. That's like Kevis land is my favorite, I think. Kevis land. That's a bunch of good ones. It could be a Naila. Says Gemara, Midami. Hasam Asham Zachar, Vaila Zachar. That's great. Asham is Zachar. Oila is Zachar. What do you bring me a raya from Rav Huna Rav? Asham could flip into oil, I get it. Avachatos nekevi. Omar Rebbe Chia, Miyistiniyah, Besoy Nasi. We're talking about an oila, yes, but sometimes, no, the chatos, sorry. It's talking about a chatos. It's talking about a chatos, but sometimes the chatos is a male when it's the soyer of the nasi, and that's how such a chatos could flip into an oila. Hajun Allah chashochet ba'amala, Hajun Allah chashochet ba'amala, Hajun Allah chashochet ba'amala. Zok de'eli Mishnah. We're going to do 10 Mishnayos now in a row. Paras chatos is trofa chutz megifta. We know the para duma. We had this a bunch of times, but the para duma is shechted and the whole avoid is done. You burn it. Opposite of the heichal. On Harazaysim would be cool if like you saw like, I don't think it's Harazaysim then, but this is the mountain that looks over and you can see the Beis HaMikdash from it. So if you shecht it in another place, not there, from the two goats, one of them you take to the desert, you throw it off a cliff. Shekir b'chutz, you didn't throw it off a cliff, you decided to shecht it outside of the Beis HaMikdash. Potter. That's not considered an avodah outside. Why? The Isser Kares comes to something that's supposed to be inside the oil mayit, inside the chazarah, and you took it outside. But a paraduma, a soya mishtaleach da azazel, doesn't go inside the Beis HaMikdash. It goes outside. Now you did it in the wrong place outside. You did it the wrong way. For that, you're not chayav of a kares for doing it outside. Hariveya, an animal that was over Isser with a woman, Va'nirba, or a person did an Isser to the animal. Va'mukta, you designated an animal for Avodah Zarah. Va'nevad, or you did Avodah Zarah to the animal. These are all animals you cannot bring as a carbon. Va'mechir, somebody traded a dog for a sheep, and you're now allowed to take that sheep and use it as a carbon. Va'esnan, a woman got payment for znus with a sheep, so she cannot use that sheep as a carbon. Va'kilayin, va'treifa, and an animal that has some sort of mum that it's not going to live that year, so you can't bring it as a carbon. V'yoytzedoifen, if an animal is born through cesarean, shekriva b'chutz. So anyway, you cannot bring these animals as a carbon, and you shechted it outside of the Beis HaMikdash as a carbon. Potter. Why are you potter? Shenema l'fnei mishkan Hashem. Kol shein roi lo l'fnei mishkan Hashem en chayavim olav. If it's not appropriate to bring that animal as a carbon, so you're not over on shechting it outside of the Beis HaMikdash. Bali mumin. Bein bali mumin kvuim, bein bali mumin oivrin. Bali mumin oivrim, shikrim b'chutz potter. Rav Shimon oimer, bali mumin kvuim potter. Oh, so now Rav Shimon is going to say a series of basically the same thing 3 times. Rav Shimon holds that if right now you can't bring it as a carbon, but tomorrow you could, that's not a chazarah. That doesn't let you off the hook. For that you get punished. Maybe not kares, but you get a punishment. Rav Shimon oimer bali mum kvuim potter, bali mum oivrim. Now, if you have a mum kavua, a permanent mum, you're right. That never goes on the mizbeach. But bali mum oivrim, something that goes away, a cast or something that goes away, chay beloisas. You still over and loisas. So why? You're right. Today you can't, but tomorrow you could. You're over. Let's stop over here. Hold on. Let's stop by a new Mishnah. We're going to get there. It's a new Mishnah. We know that pigeons, here we go. Look at it. Oh, I didn't click on this list. I didn't realize it's a click. Pigeons are to the left. You have 2 pigeons, the adult and the minor. And you have Toirim, the doves, adult and minor. Those 2 in the middle are the ones you can bring to the Mizbeach. An older dove and a smaller pigeon. But these guys are also. So he says, Toirim Shli gives manam, what if you have a dove? All the way to the right, a baby one, and you brought that, you shechted that outside of the Beis HaMikdash, Ubnei Yoino Shavers manam, or all the way to the left, the older one. Shikrivam bachutz, you shechted it outside of the Beis HaMikdash, potter. Why? Because these are not available to the Mizbeach. The larger one is too old, the smaller one is too small. It's not available today to the Mizbeach, so Meila, you're not over. Rav Shimon Oimer, B'nei Yoina Shavers manam potter, V'tam Shalei Yigiz manam b'lo yisasa. It's not true. You're right. The pigeon is too old. Okay, gone. But the one all the way to the right is a baby. Since next week it's not going to be a baby, and it'll be available for the mizbeach. Says Reb Shimon L'Shitasi, since tomorrow it's okay, so today you're chayiv on a loisasa. Oisoy ves benoi u'mechutzer zman potter. So there's a isser in the Torah that says you're not allowed to shech the mother and its offspring. Oisoy means oisa. The mother and the offspring, you're not allowed to shech in the same day. 2 different days, yes. So now you know for a fact that you shechted the mother today on Sunday. So you're not allowed to shech the baby on Sunday. So you go ahead and you shech the baby on Sunday outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Potter, since it's not available right now to the Mizbeach, it's potter. Reb Shimon Oimer, harezi b'loisasa. No, you're over in the loisasa. Why? Because tomorrow it would have been available. Reb Shimon Oimer, kol shu roi lova lachazman, harezi b'loisasa ve'im b'koris. V'chacham oirim, kol she'im b'koris, ein b'loisasa. Says Reb Shimon, if it's available tomorrow, you get a loisasa. You're right, you don't get koris, you get a loisasa. Chacham say no. They depend on each other. Koris creates a loisasa, no koris, no loisasa. Next Mishnah, mechutzer zman. If it's not the right time, ben beguvoy ben ben ba'alav, whether it's in the actual carbon or the chazarah in time is the owner. What does that mean? Hazava. They have to wait 7 days to become tar. And they didn't wait. They jumped the gun. They brought the carbon on the 3rd day instead of the 8th day. Ba'yuledes. Kedai, once in a while, chazarah, tazriim, tzayra. If a woman gives birth to a zachar, she's tummy for 7 days, then she's tahar. She has freebies for 33 days, and on day 40 she brings a carbon. An animal and a bird, and if she can't afford it, 2 birds. The second bird instead of the animal. If she gives birth to a girl, then everything is double. 14 days she's tummy, and 66 days she's tar no matter what, dam, not dam, she's tar. And on day 80, she brings the carbon. Mm-hmm. So if she jumps the gun, she brings it on day 30. That's mechutzer zman. She brought it too early. So you shech that outside of the Beis Hamikdash, it's too early. V'hamitzayra, shekrivu chatosim v'asham b'chutz. You were makriv the chatos of the asham outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Pturim. You're potter, why? Because it's not the time yet. However, they say b'shalmeim, if you shech the oila, we have to know what a shlamim has to do over here. B'chutz chayavim. Why? Because the oila and the shlamim are nedava, and nedava you can bring it any time. If you brought it early, you chayav. Hamaleh mibsar chatos. Now we're talking about the meat that's available for human consumption, for your barbecue. Once you put the imurim on the mizbeach, you're allowed to eat the meat, the steaks. So if you take that meat and you put it on the mizbeach outside your house, it's nothing. You didn't do anything. It's your steak. So you're acting silly. Instead of putting it on a barbecue, you put it on a mizbeach. You don't get karis for that. Mibsar osham, same thing. Mibsar kochim, doesn't matter if it's a chatos or osham. Mibsar kochim kalim, it doesn't matter if it's shlamim. So you put it on the mizbeach. U'moisar ha'omer, the leftover from the omer. What's the omer? You bring a carbon omer made out of barley. Second day of Pesach. That's to allow you to eat the new crop of wheat, barley. U'shtei lechem, and the 2 breads of shvuas. V'lechem aponim, and the 12 breads of the lechem aponim you put on the shulchan. You eat it on Shabbos. All these, v'shiur menachos, and this also, the leftover of mincha, these are all things that if you bring outside, you do an avodah with it. Not that you do the avodah, but you're being makri of these things outside of the Beis Hamikdash, you're potter. From here we have a whole new category. These are people performing an avodah. The avodah of hayotzek, pouring the oil onto a mincha. Not poises, breaking up a certain type of minchas mafet hanur, which is thick, it's hard. You break it into 4 pieces. V'haboilel, mix up the mincha. V'hameleach, putting the salt on all the karbanos. Every piece of carbon needs salt. V'hamenef, and you wave it. We showed the video many times. I'm not going to show it again. Doing hoilacha, hoiva, up, down, right, left. V'hamagish. This I do want to point out what it is, because we don't have it that often. No, not this. Sorry. This is a magish maybe. This one. He takes the mincha and he puts it on the what corner? Southwest corner, and he touches the mizbeach with it. That's magish. V'amisadir shulchan, and he takes, let's say, the shulchan outside of the Beis Hamikdash and he starts putting the breads in the right on the shelves. Ba'amid Beis Hamikdash, he takes the menorah outside of the Beis Hamikdash and he puts he sets up the wicks. Va'akoyim, and he does kmitza outside. Va'amikabel dam b'chutz. Oh, so we spoke about shchita outside. That's the isakaris. We spoke about putting on mizbeach isakaris. What about in between? He does the kabbalas hadam outside of Beis Hamikdash. Patur. And if you do this inside the Beis Hamikdash, you do kmitza, you do hagasha, you do meinif, all these things in your Yisrael, you don't get mitzvah for it. You're not over. And you're not over if the kohen is tamei and he does kmitza or does the meitiv v'saneiros, all these things, he's not over. And also if he's not wearing the proper big dikuna, and if he forgot to wash his hands and his feet, he's not over. Another Mishnah. In the midbar, before there was a Mishkan, so there was private bamos. You're allowed to make a private mizbeach, and the avodah was done with the firstborn. The bama became also once it was a Mishkan to have a private bama. The avodah, it switched unfortunately to the kohanim, and that's how it's going to be forever. The avodah is done by kohanim. This rule remains solid throughout the whole Mishnah. When we're dealing with kachi kachim, like a chatzas and a asham, you could only eat it inside of the walls of the Mishkan, of the chazarah. The kachim kalim, this changes a lot. If it's like shlamim, a taida, where do you eat it? B'chol machne Yisrael, in all of the Yisrael's encampments. Bo'le Gilgal, another Mishnah Rabbi say. They came to Gilgal, they came into Eretz Yisrael. Bo'le Gilgal. 14 years of conquering and dividing. 7 conquering, 7 dividing. Hudra Bamas. There's no Mizbeach yet, so everybody made their own Bama. Kachi Kedoshim Nechol Nefnim and Aklayim. The Kachi Kachim were eaten inside of the walls of, I guess it was, a Bama G'dayla. The Kachim Kalim B'chol Makom. This is a different lashon. Before we said it B'kol Machne. Now we're saying B'kol Makom. You can eat it anywhere throughout Eretz Yisrael. Well, the Shiloi, once again to Shiloi Nesra Bamas. No more Bamas. V'lo Yehoyer Shom Tikra. And Shiloi, there's no ceiling made out of your typical wood. Elo Beis Avodim Levad Milamaton. The walls were made out of stone. By Yeriyos Milamalan, and on top, instead of a wooden ceiling, there's fabric. The Hoysa Menucha. You heard that on the video, but it means over here, the famous pasuk, Kilei Vasem Ad Ota El Hamenucha Vel Anachla. So there's 2 periods of time. One is called the Menucha, and one is called the Nachla. Menucha is you're resting, is okay. But it's not the Nachla. Nachla means the inheritance of forever, and that's referring to the Beis Hamikdash in Yerushalayim. So says the Mishnah, V'hi Hoysa Menucha. We were there for 369. That's a long time. It's Menucha. Again, once again, within the walls, eat kachi kachim, kachim kalim, or ma'aseh b'chol araya. A third category of wherever you can see it. If you're on some mountaintop, you can see it. Not in all of Eretz Yisrael, not in every machna. Only b'chol araya, you have to be able to see it. They came to Noiva Givon. You saw it in the video. Another Mishnah. Hutra Abamis. So once again, Abamis with mutter. You're allowed to eat the kachim inside the walls. Kachim kalim b'chol orei Yisrael in all the cities of Klal Yisrael. Next Mishnah. Boyel Yerushalayim. They finally come to Yerushalayim. Nesra Abamis. V'lo yehoyel and heter. The Abamis became usher, and they were forever usher. They will forever be usher. There's no more bama in your backyard. V'yoysa nachla. And that's what the Torah is referring to. Nachla. Kachim kadoshim nechol nefnim and aklayim. Once again, only within the walls can you eat kachim kalim or ma'aseh lifnim and achayma. That's what we were talking about. The whole masechta that you have to eat kachim kalim inside of Yerushalayim, inside the wall. Next Mishnah. Kol kachim shekdishim shas isa bama. If you designated this animal when it was also to have a bama, let's say during Shiloi, v'kriyim shas isa bama mibachot, and you didn't listen, you were makriv it on your own private bama. Harelu ba'asev lo'isas v'chayim alav kares. That's the cars that we're talking about the whole parak. But if you're allowed to be magdashit, but you weren't makriv it right away. You waited, and all of a sudden became also to use a bama. Harei elu ba'asei. V'lo yisasei. You get an asei and lo yisasei. Ve'en chayom aleihem kars. What did you do wrong, Rabbi Yisai? What did you do wrong? You waited. You pushed it off. You procrastinated. You didn't call your friend to tell him to join Mesechus Menachos. Procrastination is also. You don't get cars. But if you designated it when it was also to bring a private carbon, but you got lucky, it became motor. You don't get a license if you get a nasei. You weren't supposed to designate it as. Next Mishnah. If you makriv, you designated something for the Mishkan, karbonis tibur krivim b'Mishkan, you have to bring the communal karbonis in the Mishkan. For karbonis hayachid b'bama. And your private ones you bring in your backyard. Karbonis hayachid shugdushu l'Mishkan, yikrivu b'Mishkan. If you designated a private carbon, but you said it should go in the regular Mishkan, that's where you should bring it. V'mekrivim b'bama, but if you didn't listen to yourself, and you said, you know what, I'm too lazy today, I'm not going to bring it to the Mishkan, I'm going to do it in my backyard, passer. Where lies the difference between a communal bama and a bama siyachad? How else do we call these? A bama siyachad and a bama sibur, a boisai, bama gdoila and bama ktana. Smicha, leaning on the animal, you need only bama gdoila. Ushchita safa, shechting it in the north is only a bama gdoila. Umatan savim, and doing the zrikas hadam on two corners that are four. Utnufa. So Rashi says, interesting, Tnufa over here is referring to the mincha, not to the meat. V'agasha, and bringing it to the corner, southwest corner. If you don't make mincha b'bama, don't worry about it, there's no such thing as a mincha by a bama. V'kiyum b'gdei sharis, the sharis, on a bama gdoila, you need kohanim, and you need the right clothing, and the right vessels. V'reach nichoyach. It has to have the aroma, like putting a piece of steak on a grill, goes, and you have that smell. You can't grill it first and then put it on the mizbeach. There's a red line on the Mizbeach, Chuta Sikra, and what do you put above the red line? A Chatos, and Oilas, Oy. The Richos Yidayim Reglayim, B'Magdoila requires washing the hands and the feet. Aval Zman, this is everybody's trauma from Zevochim. Zman, what's Zman? Pigol, Hanoisar, Vatome, Shavim B'Zev, you can do Pigol, Noisar Tome on a B'Maktana. Rabboisai, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shiur today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDY Daf.com.